Wash away the guilt of our bloodshed. We might ask ourselves, well, I haven't killed anyone. How does this apply to me? Well, Jesus, during his ministry, he said a couple things they're really difficult for us to process and take into our hearts, but they're truth. One of the things he said was, if you look at someone with lust, it's the same thing as committing adultery with them. And on that same note, he said, if you harbor anger in your heart, it's the same thing as murder. I can't see it, but I have blood on my hands. Today I can choose to allow him and accept what he's given me freely for joy set before him, and under so much duress, his wiping away of my bloodshed. So that brings us to Luke chapter 23 today. After they'd beaten him, tried him, accused him, and found him guilty, where people chose to have him killed over a leader of a rebellion. And they placed a heavy wooden block on his back and paraded him out of the city gates. They wouldn't even allow what was about to happen to him happen within the walls of Jerusalem. And on his way out, it was people mocked him, threw things at him, spat at him. In Luke chapter 23, we find out about a man named Simon, a Cyrenian. And those of us who don't know where Cyrene is or was, it was Greek. The nation of Greece occupied a part of Libya in Africa. So he's a man, a Jew living in Libya, an African man that came from Libya, and he had come up for Passover, and he had been traveling, and he comes across this parade, this morbid parade, and what the Romans did is they stopped him and they commanded that he carry Jesus' cross. I just think that's beautiful. Like the King of the universe, it's written about him that in his breath the stars have life. And he made himself the most humble human on the earth, to the point where he allowed himself to have his vitality stolen from him, or he gave it. It wasn't stolen. He gave it to them. He offered it up freely, even to the point of allowing a man share in his story. That begs the question, when I look in the mirror, who am I allowing to share in my suffering and my trials? Who am I allowing to share in my story? Or do I have it on myself that I'm supposed to have it so together that nobody assumes that I'm too weak to carry my own cross? Who can you share that with today? Who can you share the burden, the joy of your life? Sometimes it's somebody that's coming out of nowhere, from a long distance, or from someplace completely disconnected from our background, but Jesus places them in our lives so that we would share our burdens together. We would find joy in that. As Jesus processed, so back to the narrative of Jesus and the way of the cross. He's processing on his way out of Jerusalem, and it moves me. It's written about in Luke chapter 23, a group of women. A mourning party that followed him. Just wailing, it said. So they were calling out to him and crying loudly. And he turns to them, and so in his struggle, Simon is carrying his cross for him. He's dragging his own body up the hill. And he turns to them and he says, there's a day coming when people will wish that they didn't bear children. He said, if you're weeping like this now, imagine what it's going to be like then. In other words, there are people wish that they were disconnected. And I don't know about you, but I have sensed that in my own life. And I've partnered with a willingness to disconnect. I've chosen to move in that spirit. Today, let's listen to the words of Jesus. Let's let them resonate in our hearts. I said it previously. It was for the joy set before him. It was for the joy of connection set before him that he endured the cross. And it is for joy that we were placed on this earth. The Psalms say that in your presence is the fullness of joy. And Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, 2 or 3 people are gathered in my name, there I am. He took this walk, this tragic walk out of Jerusalem. He chose it because he had joy. And he chose it because he knew it would bring us joy.